The poison was never forced. It was offered gently, until you forgot it was poison at all. In an era where a ceaseless torrent of images, sounds, and words floods our senses, we stand at a crossroads of existential significance. We barter not with coin, but with the irreplaceable essence of our attention, our time. This sacred resource, the very measure of our being, is spent in communion with media that does not merely entertain, but weaves itself into the fabric of our psyche, subtly sculpting our perception of reality. Far from passive consumption, our engagement with media is an act of creation, for what we behold shapes who we become. To navigate this labyrinth, we must wield philosophical discernment, psychological clarity, and scientific insight. Choosing media that elevates our spirit and aligns with our deeper purpose, lest we squander our finite moments on that which diminishes our potential. Psychologically, the impact of media on our minds is well documented. The brain's negativity bias predisposes us to focus on threats and bad news. But we can cultivate the discipline to resist what weighs us down in the long run. We need to recognize what the media we consume fosters within us. Studies, such as those by psychologist Roy Baumeister, show that negative information captures our attention more readily and lingers longer than positive stimuli. This explains why sensationalized news cycles, filled with crises and scandals, dominate our mental landscape, often inducing anxiety and a skewed perception of reality. Nothing from which we can constructively create something. The constant influx of such content activates stress responses while crowding out cognitive resources needed for reflection or creativity. Moreover, social media's algorithmic design exploits dopamine-driven feedback loops, as explored by neuroscientist Kent Berridge, keeping us hooked on fleeting distractions. The media we consume becomes the lens through which we view the world, subtly programming our emotions and beliefs. Over time, we will be consumed by it. Yet, not all media is detrimental. There is a time for entertainment that sparks joy, inspires dreams, or offers escapism. Stories, whether in novels, films, or games, can expand our empathy and imagination, as research on narrative transportation suggests. A well-crafted story can transport us into another's perspective, fostering compassion and insight. Escapist media, when chosen thoughtfully, can serve as a respite, recharging us for life's demands. The key is discernment. We must ask whether the media we consume elevates us, challenges us, or merely numbs us. Scientifically, the opportunity cost of mindless media consumption is stark. The brain's ability to rewire itself based on experience means that what we repeatedly engage with shapes our neural architecture. Hours spent on trivial or negative content reinforce neural pathways that prioritize distraction or fear, while deliberate engagement with meaningful media strengthens pathways for learning and resilience. Excessive media multitasking correlates with reduced gray matter in the anterior cingulate cortex, impairing attention and emotional regulation. By contrast, selective media consumption enhances cognitive control and well-being. Our attention is a sculptor, carving the mind's potential with every choice. We need to keep in mind that the danger lies in becoming consumed by what we consume. As philosopher Marshall McLuhan famously noted, the medium is the message. The structure of modern media, fast-paced, fragmented, and algorithmically curated, often prioritizes engagement over substance, fragmenting our attention and diluting our capacity for deep thought. Negative news, while informative to an extent, rarely empowers us to act meaningfully. Instead, it fosters a state of learned helplessness, as psychologist Martin Seligman's research describes, where we feel overwhelmed by problems we cannot solve. This mental clutter distances us from our goals, anchoring us in a cycle of distraction rather than progress. We need to consume consciously and choose media that brings us closer to where we want to be. For in the economy of attention, every moment spent is a moment invested or lost. We are responsible for the meaning we assign to our lives through our choices. When we surrender our attention to media that offers no benefit, we relinquish our agency, allowing external forces to dictate the texture of our consciousness. In the bustling marketplace of ideas, those who claim to know it all often shout the loudest. This phenomenon, rooted in the Dunning-Kruger effect, reveals a psychological truth. Individuals with limited knowledge tend to overestimate their competence, projecting unearned confidence. As philosopher Bertrand Russell noted, the trouble with the world is that the stupid are cocksure and the intelligent are full of doubt. On media platforms, this manifests as strident voices, pundits, influencers, or commentators who dominate discourse with simplistic certainties, drowning out nuanced perspectives. Their loudness exploits our cognitive biases, where we gravitate toward bold claims for their apparent clarity. This clamor often lacks substance, sowing division and distraction rather than insight. To counter this, we must seek media that embraces complexity and humility, fostering critical thinking over blind allegiance to the loudest voice. Media, when harnessed with intention, is a powerful tool for transformation. It can serve as therapy, soothing the mind, reduce cortisol levels, and enhance emotional regulation. As a weapon, it can utterly destroy us. It can be used to infiltrate our mind and fill it with ideas and projections that slowly change our perception and beliefs. Yet, as a motivator, it can ignite our drive. It can clarify our path and inspire visions that expand our sense of possibility. It's a tool we can wield whenever we stumble, to sustain our faith in moving forward. By engaging with media that affirms our goals and belief in ourselves, we cultivate a mental landscape fertile for growth. This deliberate curation transforms media from a source of distraction into a beacon, illuminating the way toward our highest aspirations. In a world where media often cloaks agendas in the guise of truth, we must cultivate the courage to question everything. Nothing is as it seems. Narratives are crafted, images curated, and messages engineered to sway our hearts and minds. To choose wisely, we must turn inward, anchoring our consumption in the bedrock of our morals, beliefs, and virtues. This introspective journey demands we ask, does this media align with the person I aspire to be? Does it uplift or unsettle my spirit? Does it resonate with my ethical compass? Or does it leave me feeling hollow, anxious, or misaligned? True selfhood emerges from confronting our inner truth, not conforming to external clamor. By scrutinizing media through the lens of our values and its emotional impact, we resist the seductive illusions of a media-saturated world, choosing instead what nurtures our integrity and growth, regardless of whose voice or which story captures your attention. Always heed your own inner wisdom first, for deep within, you hold the narrative that matters most, your own. Stay the course.